Venezuela after Chavez and the prospects for change in Latin America. I'm Marcus Mabry for the New York Times. Caracas Bureau Chief William Newman joins me now on the phone from Venezuela. Willie, what's the mood there today?
Well, it's a very somber mood. This morning we're all waiting for this funeral procession that's going to take Chávez from the military hospital where he died to the military academy where he studied as a young man, where he will lie in state. The thousands of his supporters are at the hospital now, getting ready to march along with the casket. So the city feels very calm, but sort of tense at the same time because there's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen next here.
Are Venezuelans afraid of what happens next? What do they think will happen next?
Well, what is supposed to happen under the Constitution is that a new election will be called within 30 days. The expectation is that Vice President Maduro, Nicolas Maduro, who is Chávez's hand-picked successor, will run the country until then and run as the government's candidate against Enrique Capriles, who's one of the opposition leaders. It seems quite likely that Maduro will win. He has a tremendous number of advantages, although one never knows. And then the question becomes, of course, what sort of policies will he and what will his attitude to the U.S. be? There's been, some question, will the country moderate toward the U.S. or not? In the short run, I think that the answer is that he is going more radical. We know that he kicked out a couple of U.S. attachés yesterday from the embassy, accusing them of spying. So to play to his radical base, he seems to want to get more radical right now. But if he becomes president after a new election, then it's possible that he might seek to moderate somewhat the attitude toward the U.S.
Thank you, Willie.
Thank you, Marcus.
Michael Shifter, a close observer of Venezuela and the president of the Inter-American Dialogue, a Washington-based think tank focusing on Latin America, joins me now. Michael, the big question, what happens in Venezuela after Chavez?
Well, it looks like the most likely scenario is that the Chavez government will continue in power. The government is strong. The candidate will likely be Nicolas Maduro, who's the current vice president. The opposition is very demoralized and very fragmented. So we expect that there will be a continuity in the government over the next couple of months. The question is what happens later on when the economic problems really become more serious.
The Obama administration had been reaching out to Vice President Maduro in the hopes that he would be a moderating influence. His pronouncements about a U.S. complicity in the cancer that killed the president in the end suggests that maybe he's not such a moderating influence. Is that a correct way to look at it?
Well, I think Maduro is a guy who's going to be very tough rhetorically, publicly, and we saw that yesterday. In part, that was to mobilize the base of the party, of the Chavez party. He needs to show that he's going to be faithful to the socialist Bolivarian revolution after Chavez. So that was for more domestic consumption. But he's a hardliner. There's no question about it. He has close ties to Cuba. But he is somebody who is a union leader. You can talk to him. He is accessible. I think he's somebody who's going to have to look to make deals. He doesn't have Chavez's charisma. He doesn't have his command over all the factions within the government coalition. So he's going to have to reach out a little bit. I wouldn't expect very warm relations with the United States, but at least we can open up channels of communication. I think that's a real possibility.
With Chavez gone, you mentioned the Castros, and with Chavez gone and the Castros in Cuba set to give up power in a relatively short time, is the era of the larger-than-life left-wing leader over in Latin America?
Well, I think so. I think these were very unique circumstances that gave rise to Fidel Castro in 1959 and to Hugo Chávez in 1999. And we don't see any leaders today that are comparable to that, that really have a broader project. Chávez really had money that he gave out more than anybody else, and he gained a lot of support throughout the region. And of course, Fidel Castro, because of the ideological question during the Cold War, and both of them standing up to the United States. There are other leaders that have some comparable characteristics and features, but none that kind of command and have the outsized ambition that both Fidel Castro and Hugo Chavez had. So I think we're entering into a new era, although one can never rule out that other leaders could emerge. But right now, one doesn't see any on the horizon.
Venezuela is sitting on a lot of oil, so folks there in Washington will be watching events really closely. How much can the Obama administration actually influence what happens?
Well, there's always been the contradiction with the U.S.-Venezuelan relationship that the relations are very bad politically but have been good economically, and Venezuela sells a large share of its oil to the United States. The leverage that the United States really has is not very great, and really what it can do, which I think it should do, really, is to consult and work together with Venezuela's neighbors, especially Colombia and Brazil, especially, which is the big power in South America that I think is going to be influential in the future in Venezuela, and the United States has good relations with both of those countries. So I think that's the way, really, that it could be engaged in the situation in Venezuela, which is very, very uncertain, and we really don't know what's going to happen in the coming months. For the time being, I think things will be fairly stable, and the U.S. should express its willingness to open up to Venezuela, perhaps consider having an ambassador in Caracas and the Venezuelans having an ambassador here in Washington. But I think there shouldn't be any illusions about forging great, close, warm relationships between the two countries, at least in the short term.
Mr. Shifter, thanks for coming on.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
That's all for now. I'm Marcus Mabry for the New York Times.